Hello, and welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on each volume. We keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans of the series, so this is the perfect place to follow along, whether you're new to the series or just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week, we will be covering the first part of Volume 61, Romance Dawn for the New World, which covers chapters 595 through 599. My name is Joel, and I'll be your host. Joining me today, we have Sean.
This is Sean.
We have Evan.
This is Evan.
And we have Cody.
It's a new day. It's a new world. I'm Cody.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit since we've had the crew together. So we're reuniting, which I think is going to be very fitting for this volume. But yeah, I'm very excited about getting into this one. This is one that we've been building up to for a while. So I'm glad that we're finally getting to this point in the story.
Me too. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this. Oh my God.
All right. So before we get into that, I'll give a quick recap from where we left off. As Luffy grieved the loss of his brother, Jinbei reminded him to focus on who he still has, his crew. Rayleigh tracked Luffy's location to Amazon Lily after learning that Kuma was part of the Revolutionary Army, using his power to send the Straw Hats away from the Navy. Luffy was planning on reuniting with his crew, but Rayleigh had something else in mind. The various members of the Straw Hats all attempted to make arrangements to reunite with Luffy upon learning what happened at Marineford, but they changed plans once they saw Luffy made the news again. He had returned to Marineford and performed a ceremony, getting his picture on the front page. His crew got the message, but Luffy could only hope that they understood what it meant. So let's see if we can get some answers. Starting with chapter 595, The Pledge. The Heart Pirates depart from Amazon Lily, but Law's crew is surprised that their captain tells them that they aren't heading for the New World quite yet. Meanwhile, the other supernovas make moves of their own. The Blackbeard Pirates captured Jewelry Bonnie, hoping to use her as a bargaining chip with the Navy to replace their now destroyed ship. This plan falls apart when Aki Inu is the one that arrives with a fleet of warships, so the Blackbeard Pirates abandon Bonnie and flee. Doflamingo meets with a government agent and they discuss how Moria somehow got away. Chopper returns to the Birdie Kingdom and realizes that the island is home of rare plants, and the inhabitants have advanced knowledge and technology where he can learn a lot about medicine. Sanji learns about the concept of attack cooking to make the food that can give benefits to his crewmates. Ivankov issues a challenge to Sanji to steal the 99 recipes from the masters of Newcomer Karate while trying to fight them off day and night. Sanji accepts. Okay, so we're moving some of the pieces along here. So where do you guys want to start?
Let's start with the beginning. My guy, Trafalgar Law. He's playing the long game. I'll try not to fanboy too long about him. Really, it's just that I think the patience he shows here, especially as the person who ended up saving Luffy at Marineford, is such a nice contrast to Luffy, that we're starting out with someone who has such a different outlook to things than Luffy normally does. And as a giant Trafalgar Law stan, this character is my favorite. There have been a lot of times when this specific page has come up in my mind where it's like, okay, no, wait for the right time. You find the right moment, you go there. When I was waiting to move to California, it was hard to have patience. It was like, okay, think about that. There is a right reason where you're not doing the thing that's in your sights just yet. And it's good to see a character embodying that as well when Luffy is so headstrong and sometimes needs to learn that. Also, I love his crew. I don't know what the translation now, just shut your mouths and follow me, because I know we still have Lance Katzman. I've not been the biggest fan of his translations, but I just love the fact they're all just such huge fanboys of him. It's wonderful. and that's my guy Law.
Yeah, and not only is Law contrasting with Luffy, but he's also contrasting with most of the other supernovas who are already like making plans to move on to the New World. So I think pretty much they all have gone except for like Law.
I think you're right, yeah.
Because we see that like Drake is already trying to make moves on like Kaido's territory. Apu's kind of like in over his head as they like run from like these like wild boars. And then Bonnie, unfortunately, is the one that got captured because we had learned that one of the supernovas had been captured. And it was Bonnie. So Blackbeard, again, plotting and scheming, using Bonnie as a way to try to get some kind of advantage. So his ship got destroyed, apparently by San Wolf. So he's like, all right, we got to get a new ship for us. So Blackbeard's plan was to exchange Bonnie for a warship. But then Aki is like, yeah, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And he's like, I'm going to just, I'm going to take you out. So Blackbeard's like, all right, well, I'm out. You got Bonnie. There you go.
New plan,
I think-
run away.
Akinu does say something interesting, though, when he sees Bonnie. So he says, a cold shiver ran through me when I heard you run away from the government, but it's all over now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
So he seems to have some kind of awareness of Bonnie beyond she's just a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
Is she a marine deserter, perhaps?
Maybe.
Possibly.
It is nice that Oda has established the supernovas so quickly in Sabaody. I'm not sure if we talked about like how long he really had to think of their designs and their placed as a group.
It was like a
but
day.
Yeah, like a day. There was like, hey, can you get more characters? And it was like, sure, I have these two. Let me figure out the rest. But like the fact he's like giving us so many, like now he's like, okay, I know where they fit, or at least I know where they could go. Let me give like these. Let me just give teases. Let me just give teases of more to come. Make people ask questions. Define this group more. It's amazing. And speaking of groups that I love seeing defined, I love seeing the Blackbeard Pirates in this chapter.
Yeah.
It's very much is this. They are not necessarily friends. They are wildly they have wildly different stances. Just the quarreling between Blackbeard and Wolf. Shiryu's commentary about them being rash and unprepared. Of Pizarro saying, I'll be the leader. Want to take your place? I got this.
We found the Usopp with the crew.
Exactly. Yeah. And like it is kind of like, okay, there's like the original ones, like the East Blue Quintet of the group, and then the Grand Line recruits. I think there are some
Impel Down.
Yeah. But I guess I'm just trying to like make it analogous to Straw Hats. It's funny seeing the conflict and the lack of coherency there. Also based on how new they are too, but it just seems to be more of an attitude in Blackbeard's crew and just their vibe as a whole. And it's nice to see this get developed.
Yeah, I just point out Impel Down specifically because that's where he essentially took a gamble on these.
Oh, true.
Like the worst of the worst. So like he had his core crew, which you could imagine are probably more loyal to him. Whereas like these other pirates that he just recruited, like we don't really know exactly where they stand. They could be like, well, now that I'm out, like I might have plans of my own. So we don't know if they're going to be loyal to Blackbeard or if they have like their own schemes. So like, yeah, one of them again, like Pizarro was just like, oh yeah, maybe I could be captain. So yeah, we don't really have a good feel for them quite yet.
Yeah. Oh, really good point.
Right. We don't really get a sense of loyalty at all. It's really like he amassed these people due to their power and what they can bring forcibly to the group, and not really where their loyalties lie or if their objectives align or not, you know? I do love all the intros that everyone gets in these first few pages, though, with it almost looks like the like wanted poster font, kind of introducing all these characters in the front. I think like visually it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a fun way to like bring us back up to speed.
Yeah, like every character kind of has like the little moment in the spotlight.
Yeah.
It feels like the bounty posters in the live action, like you were.
Yeah.
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 And then what about this conversation with Doflamingo and this world government agent?
Pretty interesting. So it seems like Doflamingo is suggesting that Moria has the ability to disappear.
So I have a different theory. Do you have a theory on what happened there?
I mean, reading this through the first time, I feel like either he's not being truthful like I don't know. It just seems like if Moria could disappear and reappear, we would have seen that already. So I think maybe Doflamingo has some ulterior motives here and isn't being truthful.
See, I think he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something that I
He
never
looks like
picked
a
up on.
stand-up guy. He like
No, I didn't pick up on this before. I
Based on
noticed it
Blind.
going through here. So we actually encountered somebody on this crew
Oh
that
my god.
that can turn invisible. So my theory is it was Absalom that rescued Moria.
Oh,
can he make other people invisible?
He can make
forgotten.
objects invisible at the very least because he did it with the bazookas on his hands. Holy shit! I didn't. I didn't
Oh
even
my
think of-
god! I didn't
Oh
think
my
of that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I don't think I ever picked up on it before. Because like this whole time, it's like, well, they're implying that Moria was killed,
Dude.
and then like Mihawk said, well, I never saw that happen, so I don't know if that's true. So he kind of like was telling Perona, but like he had left probably before the Doflamingo thing happened. But yeah, so my thinking is that Absalom came and actually took Moria away.
That makes sense.
That's amazing. I'd forgotten that Doflamingo even commented on it in this scene.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause it's just like
Holy.
such a small throwaway line, you know.
Wow.
Oda, man. Make chapters so dense people don't pick up on the little things. Make them earn it. God damn. But Dofi's very he's very bold here.
Mm.
I can quit being one of the 7 warlords anytime. Don't you forget that. That's it's to a certain degree. A lot of the warlords are pretty flippant about their. Most of the warlords are pretty flippant about the job, but I don't think we really see them directly get confrontational about it and use it as leverage in the way that Doflamingo seems to here.
Yeah, Doflamingo seems to be like, you know what? Like I have control of the situation here. Like I'm doing this because it benefits me, but I can stop doing it the same time I want. So a big deal to me because I'll just do the next thing that's like cool to me. So
Yeah, because he just doesn't care at all about it. Like doesn't even see it as a sacrifice. Like if Boa will turn an entire Navy ship to stone, but at the end of the day, she's there because she wants to protect her queendom, and it's just it does not matter.
Right.
It's also not the first time we've seen Doflamingo just being like, I'm just going to do what's best for me. Like, I don't care what happens to anyone else. Like, I'm looking out for myself, and that's all that matters.
Valid.
Yeah, and we have like these little scenes with like Chopper and Sanji kind of checking in. Like we're getting like more information about where the Straw Hats actually ended up and how it actually kind of benefits them. So like they were sent away to places that are actually very convenient for their own purposes. So we see Chopper actually landed like in this kind of like this like haven for like medicine and learning like new skills and like studying like medicinal plants. So Chopper realizes like, oh, there's actually more to these people than I initially thought. So this could actually be like a really good place to become a better doctor.
Yeah, I like Chopper's area. I like that one. I continue to not particularly like the Sanji one.
There are some.
I don't know, like this translation, and like I get that it's I don't. I wasn't born to be the friend of women. I was born to love them is a creepy thing to say.
For me, with that line, if may I cut in, or did you have more?
Yeah, go for it. No, there's nothing else.
Sure?
Okay. He's my least favorite Straw Hat, like easily at this point. He's at the bottom and he'll never rise again.
It's unfortunate because it's so easy to see where you're coming from. And even rereading this, because I was like, I was 17, 16 when I first read this chapter. And I guess that kind of flew by the wayside when I first read it. But now I'm like, God damn it, dude. Really, really, as I read it again. And for me, it's one of those things where I feel like there's something it was just tweaked a little bit. It could be a really good development. If it could be like if it's Sanji having gender exploration or coming into terms with the weaknesses of his machismo chivalry, then it could be like if this could be like him holding on to the fact that I still want to be a man, but I want to accept these other parts that are outside of myself and treat everything as equal footing, that would be cool. That's just sadly not what it is. And I think the fact that there's so much potential in Sanji's character to be developed here, that kind of just seems like, nah, let's just go with the joke.
And this isn't the first time.
What?
And this isn't the first time I feel like we've had that opinion of like Oda's handling of Sanji's arc, and like, I don't want to say it's not that he's taking him seriously, but like even in this little arc with Sanji, it's like we don't even get to see him face Iva. It was like he just got immediately discarded. And then we kind of see him here, kind of just, like you said, struggling to come to terms with his situation, and it just doesn't portray him in a very like strong light. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm in agreement with you guys. I feel like Sanji's character has been on a downward trajectory.
Yeah, I feel like as the author of the most popular shonen manga, Oda is someone who's uniquely situated to say something about masculinity, and this may delve into my own personal opinions, my own journeys with things, my own reactions to things. But for me, rereading this now, and the fact that I'm rereading it now as opposed to 2009 does play a factor in it. I see so much more potential for what this could have been for him. And to me, that's like the unfortunate thing. It's the fact that it is what it is does suck, but I think the fact that it could have been something even better just makes it sting a little more for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as I want to find the good in them, it's like, God damn.
Yeah, it's like we've been saying with all the shots for a long time, how they have these like kind of core beliefs or these like core traits or identifiers. It's like, I feel like we've wanted Sanji to kind of grow out of this like core identifier for a while now, and he just still hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it kind of boils down to Sanji being reduced to a stereotype in shonen. Like this is like a very common type of character. Like it's not like this is the only series that has this type of character. It's unfortunately something that's very common. Like so, you have like Zenitsu from like Demon Slayer. We have like Master Roshi from Dragon Ball. We have like these like very like kind of pervy type characters, and it's just like a stereotype that they like to keep going back to.
Yep.
And it's just unfortunate. Like as like time's going on, like these types of things have become more apparent as to like their portrayal. I feel like when we maybe like Cody and I might have like initially read it like back in the day where like we might have had like we might not have been like as conscious about some of these things that we like were like digesting, but now like looking at it in 2024 we have like more of like an awareness of like where we've come. So I do feel like over time this has become like a more harmful portrayal of these types of characters, and unfortunately that is the case. But like I think it's just like it's not like every character is like this. It's like there is like an exception. I do think it weakens Sanji's character, and I do think Sean would agree. Like Throw Bark was kind of like the major point where like Sanji started tipping in that direction and leaning more into like that territory where it's like he's less likable in that way. And unfortunately, I don't think it gets much better for a little while. And I think we're just gonna have to like be here for a little bit.
I mean, I don't know. I think
deal with a situation for a little while. We just have to accept that it is what it is and do what we can in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like it's obvious that Oda uses this as like a comedic, like trope, because like you also see it in his SBS. Like his SBS is also can be very kind of like immature and pervy at times. So I definitely think that's kind of like, I don't know, I guess like a style of humor that he's been going for, and I feel like sometimes it doesn't quite land
right
well.
For me, it's that I have no issue with the simp aspect of Sanji's character, if we're gonna go for it like that. The simp, the ladies man, the whatever. Even to a degree, the perv. It's just that when it comes into him being creepy and not respecting consent or boundaries, that's when it's too much. If it's juvenile, it's fine. If it completely dominates his character, then for me, that's when it gets to be unlikable and unbearable. And at this point in Oda's journey, he is not the guy with the new manga that's suddenly popping off. at this point, it's the big three. It's One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. One Piece is noticeably at the top. Oda is no longer someone who has to subscribe to shonen tropes. Oda is becoming the innovator of the entire genre. So if anyone has the ability to break out of these tropes, like this perf trope, like the lovesick guy trope, or at least give it some nuance, at least let it evolve into a new direction, that person would be Oda. So
yeah, let it evolve.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. But of course, his sense of humor being what it is, and the way he also has to kind of restructure the tone of his story, restructure the cast, given the point that we're at here, the fact that this is a tipping point for the world, I can see where he's like, well, let me rechange the formula and just try and stick with this since we haven't seen the Straw Hats in 2 years. There's also probably a bunch of new readers coming in because the
let's just reestablish their core characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Readers who have not been growing with the story, who may be completely new to it. Like, I can see that too, but it's just like, damn, if I feel like Oda could have done better. Anyway, I'll drop it for now.
Yeah, it is an interesting point, but yeah, I do think we should move on. But yeah, did you guys have any final thoughts before we move on to the next chapter?
I will have one thing, but it bleeds into the next one, so I'll save it for that.
Okay. All right, then let's get into chapter 596, Spectrum. Nami discovers that Weather Reader has a wealth of knowledge and weather-based technology that she can learn about in order to make sure to keep her crew alive. Brook has been captured by the Longarm tribe and put into a cage. He is not sure how he can help his captain, but he's determined to reunite and be of use to his captain. He composes some new hit singles. Robin has decided to take up the offer of the Revolutionary Army and to return to Baltigo with them. Frankie discovers there was another secret lab hidden by the one that Frankie blew up. He finds Vegapunk's notes and research that he can study. Usopp is eager to get stronger to help Luffy. Heracles begins teaching Usopp about the local plants known as pop greens, aggressive plants that grow quickly. So we're kind of continuing that.
Sorry.
Go for it.
I was going to say real quick before we dive into the chapter, I'm just noticing that the cover art for Spectrum has like a old Sabo, like an older Sabo character.
Yeah.
Which is pretty heartbreaking. Yeah.
It's like what could have been, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a concept as if like Sabo, had survived and was able to grow up with them.
Yeah.
Look at his smile. Look at him having fun with his brothers.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
That cover story hits hard right at this point in the story.
Yeah. But yeah, it is a nice little cover art.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we do get that trend continuing here where we check in with the Straw Hats and see what they've been up to and how they happen to end up in places that seem to work to their advantage. So did you guys want to talk about any in particular here?
I do, but I also want to give other people a chance to speak first because I know I had a big rant last chapter.
The highlight of this chapter for me is Frankie making history again in this world where he's like become this like myth now, which I love.
I love the image of him over the mountain.
Yes,
it makes me think of the screaming cowboy, like me, and just like that incident would be remembered as the legend of Baltimore's burning beast throughout the Grand Line.
The man, the myth, the legend.
It's the second time that Oda's like done that, and it's hilarious both times.
It's so funny.
And it's like moving on to a different character. It's a very cheap, like if we're talking cheap jokes and cheap like or like classic gags and stuff in terms of like that we feel kind of grew stale with Sanji. I'm never not gonna laugh at Fat Usopp. Like it's just really funny visual to me to just because he's also still like running around constantly. So like he's still like it's so I don't know. It just looks really funny. It really does. And I love Usopp and Heracles dynamic of just calling him Usopp-un and Caesar and all the Uns and just it's great.
Did you see Usopp's profile picture in the characters section at the front of the book?
I think I did. What?
Is it Fat Usopp?
Because I'm on my app.
Yeah, it is.
It's Fat Usopp, and it's hilarious.
Awesome.
It's also Burnt Frankie.
Yeah, Frank got the skin on his face.
Yep.
Amazing.
Going through some changes.
I'm going through changes. Pretty cut that.
Just auto-tune it.
It's Patrick Bates AI impersonation.
I just did a Google for Fat Usopp, and it's just a meme piece, one of the main like meme one piece Reddits.
No, you said what you said, and I like it. That's a term now.
It's just the top result is, can Fat Usopp be the sub avatar until COVID-19 ends?
Yo, you want to talk about 3D2Y? You want to talk about 3D2Y? That I love seeing where the Straw Hats are at. Joel, you commented on the fact. I think all of us have commented at a certain point on how handpicked these places seem for the Straw Hats to develop their talents and the thing that they give specifically to the crew. Case in point, Nami with the weather stuff, chopper medicine, Sanji, the attack cooking. And that's something I still love about all these, and something that is so remarkable to me. Something that I didn't think about earlier is the circumstances they're in. Because I think it was when I got to Brooks' page, and he's thinking back to Luffy being on the ship. It literally flashes back to that panel, which Oda, I believe, redrew, by the way, which is props to him. The fact he tries not to use flashbacks. I know he used it, or reuse art. I know I mentioned it in SBS. But the fact that it comes back to, when was this moment when they met Luffy, or when did they come in contact with Luffy, or when did they realize that they needed Luffy, or Luffy could bring something to them? Because at first I was reading through this, I was like, yeah, we got the flashback, cool. Everyone's getting reminded why the Straw Hats are here. That's who they are, awesome. But then I'm like, well, I feel like Oda does have some faith in his readers to know what's going on, or at least have faith that they would look for the context themselves. So what's the purpose of these? And I realized with Brooks that it's like, oh, this isn't just about what they can give to the crew. It's about reaffirming, this is why I joined the crew. It's baked into their circumstances. Brooke is alone. I mean, they're all alone, but Brooke is being looked at as some otherworldly entity. Chopper too. In fact, Chopper even, has to realize, oh, I shouldn't judge this group of people based on their looks. Nami is realizing that this guy's a fucking idiot. He needs me. Robin is in a place where she's like, I'm not. Robin, I think, is one of the ones that fits the most. Some of these I'm still figuring out how they fit here, because it's just a theory for me. But for Robin, it's like, I'm in this place where I don't know if I can trust the people around me. And this is a place that I've been in so many times. People who are looking at me as maybe as a person, but definitely as a person or object of value because of what I know and what I can do. And that's exactly where she has been so many times. And Luffy was the exception to that. And so to me, it's lovely seeing their circumstances get tied back in. And in Usopp's case, where he is surrounded by enemies that he cannot beat, right? Where he is going through the sort of struggle he went through in Water 7 in so many places, what has been the biggest challenge to him? But I need to find his line. Bear with me for just a second. I'm trying not to go over my time, Your Honor. He says somewhere deep inside, I always thought Luffy would be the Pirate King on his own. But it's not true. There are enemies out there he can't possibly defeat. Even Luffy can lose. He's been pushing himself really hard, but deep inside he's screaming, that's why he needs me to help him. And it is something that the Straw Hats are all going through. But for Usopp to realize that specifically, as the one who's been the weakest member of the crew, realizing this is what I need to do, Luffy. This is why I'm committed to Luffy. And Luffy having realized I still have my friends. It's not just something that's going to make them better fighters, better their roles, but this is an ordeal that circumstantially is going to make them a stronger crew. And to me, that's just fucking beautiful. Rant over.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I didn't really put too much attention to the Usopp line, but I think that's really beautiful that you pointed that out. And I think it's true, because if we think back to Enies Lobby, like the reason why Luffy was able to beat Lucci was because Usopp was there to support him. So I think that's a perfect example of where it's like if Usopp wasn't there, I don't think Luffy would have been able to get up and keep fighting. Usopp had to cheer him on and be like, Luffy, like, what are you doing? Get up. Like, you could win. And then, like, that's what gave Luffy that motivation to keep fighting. Like, oh, 100%. Usopp, you're here. But yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, well said.
It's something that it's the thing that we're getting into the part that I have reread less because I caught up at Enies Lobby.
Mm-hmm.
I read now it's like now this is like truly where the joy of rereading begins. Of like seeing the things I didn't get the first time. I feel like there's gonna be a lot more of those as time goes on. Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
It's really cool having just seen like Luffy's spark reignited after remembering his crew, and now seeing kind of that same spark being ignited in his crew as they're thinking of Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting me very excited.
Yeah, and Luffy's message, we still don't know exactly what the message is, but the message got all of his crew motivated. So that's what got like Usopp all riled up, and that's why he was like running. He's like, I gotta go help. Yeah, so this is like the moment where they're realizing, okay, this is my time to prove like what I can help with the crew and to Luffy, and how I can pull my weight. So yeah, I think this is just a great development for all of the Straw Hats, because they're all kind of like in that same boat right now, and they realize the importance of the message that Luffy got to them. So they're all have the same realization at the same time. But while we're talking about Usopp, I do think it's interesting because now we're seeing that Usopp is going to be training under Heracles, and he calls him Master, and then he goes right into this lesson about the pop greens. So we don't exactly have a good idea what they are quite yet, but it seems like a tool that Usopp can learn about, where it's like these plants that can grow really fast and they become aggressive.
It's also this is something I just realized. It's the fact that when you said he calls him Master, I'm like, oh, that's kind of how he addresses Dorian Broggie. It's like, oh, that Heracles is a strong warrior. Heracles is a proud warrior. Yep. So that's also another part that Usopp gets to develop here, which I think is yay, good for him.
Yeah, and just to kind of touch upon some of the other ones we've gone through here. Like Frankie found a secret Vegapunk lab, so there's a lot of information and stuff you can learn about here. So I think that's very fortunate for Frankie to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Robin's, I think, is a little bit less clear, because we don't really know exactly what the Revolutionary Army like wants from her. But they've been wanting to meet her for a while. But I think because she's a survivor of the Ohara incident, like that's something that like they're very interested in. But we don't know how this is going to benefit Robin. And then Brooks also kind of like in a situation where it's like we don't exactly know how he's going to help Luffy with this, but it looks like he's going to start by composing, which is he's a musician, so it makes sense. And that Nami, of course, learning more weather stuff is going to be crucial going into the new world, where they're going to experience maybe new weather conditions they haven't seen before.
Right.
True. New World seems like a crazy place so far. We've seen lightning coming up from the ground. John's on fire. This might help.
All right, you guys have anything else before we move on?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so let's move on to chapter 597, 3D2Y. Zoro has defeated the Humandrils and begs Mihawk to teach him. Mihawk accepts. Perna asks what 3D2Y means when she sees Luffy's tattoo on his right arm, but points out that 3D is crossed out. Zoro explains they were supposed to meet up at a location in Sabaody in 3 days, but will instead meet up in 2 years after everyone has had time to train up and get stronger. A few days ago, Jinbei had departed from Amazon Lily and would see Luffy again in 2 years. Luffy and Rayleigh are dropped off by the Kuja pirates and are left at the nearby deserted island of Ruskaina, with the only inhabitants being dangerous beasts. Rayleigh begins explaining Haki to Luffy. He tells him that there are 2 main types of Haki: observation and arms. Observation can be used to detect and predict opponents' attacks, also known as Mantra and Skypiea. Arms allows the user to coat themselves in an invisible armor that can be used both offensively and defensively, even being able to hit low-gear Devil Fruit users. Lastly, there's a third and rare ability that only some people can use, Haki of the Supreme King, which can be used to overwhelm those around the user. Luffy puts down his straw hat and begins his 2-year training with Rayleigh. Okay, let's start with that then.
Yeah. What you got?
The deep dive.
Yeah, it's cool finally get some explanations around Haki here from the expert himself.
But also 2 years.
2 years
of hockey.
Time.
It's hockey season.
One Piece Shippuden.
I know we're establishing. I keep getting used. I'm still getting used to Frankie's burned off face. So when they have that big splash panel of all the Straw Hats who are broadly recognizable, and then you have like fucking zombie cyborg man there, like it's like, okay, who the hell are you? Like,
I think these are just like what they actually put in the table of contents. I think it's these exact 8 images.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, hey, buddy, something's a little different here. Imagine on like a Zoom call, like, hey, man, you good? If only.
Oh, and Jinbei. Jinbei's like, I'll see you in 2 years too.
Pretty cool.
Because they were planning to go to Fishman Island, so like, all right, well, I'll see you guys when you get there.
Bye.
But that line from Jinbei, I think that's very telling of like his relationship with Luffy. When I was in Impel Down, I prayed for a battlefield on which I might die. Yet here I am, alive and dishonored. But perhaps I can help you again someday.
Yeah.
It's what a good guy.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Luffy was able to help him out because he's helped Luffy so much as well. That it's nice seeing that Luffy got to bring him something.
Yeah.
I look forward to his return. He was a very likable character.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the top of the chapter, we do get the little catch up with Zoro, who is now going to be training with Mihawk. A little awkward, but Mihawk's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll train you even though your goal is to kill me, but might as well.
I mean, ultimately, Mihawk wants a good fight, so he's like, all right.
Yeah.
They both want the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought this was like pretty mature of Zoro because I feel like Zoro has been like pretty headstrong and stubborn throughout the series, but like in this moment, he bows, putting his head to the ground and is asking for help, which is something I don't think I've seen Zoro do yet. And not only that, but from his like sworn enemy as well and competitor. And this is the man who stands between him and his ultimate goal. But that is also what makes it a logical ask because he's only going to get to the top if he trains with the best of the best.
Right.
For me, and in my crackhead theory from the last chapter, I'm like, Zoro does not have a flashback panel here. What's the correlation? And I'm like, is it because he already knows what Luffy needs? And he is putting so much on the line that it's just not even about himself anymore at this point.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like he had that moment in Through a Bark where he put himself up there because he said, like, what use am I if I can't protect my crew? So he's kind of already had that revelation. And he's already also announced to Luffy, like, if you're going to be the king of the pirates, then you need to have the world's best swordsman. So I need to step up my game.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting that Zoro is the only Straw Hat in this chapter to get one of these. His is separate from everyone else's. It feels very intentional to me.
Yeah.
To what end, I'm still piecing together.
Speaking of piecing together, Zoro was able to put together the message that Luffy was trying to convey.
I love that it was him after everyone was like, there's one guy who's a little not the sharpest sword in the armory.
And then like last volume
and he
like when Zoro's like reading the paper, he's like, there's something weird here, but I don't know what it is.
He's literally for real. I just need to figure it out. It's right there. I just give me 2 more seconds. I gotta figure it out. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Yeah, so we couldn't actually see the tattoo in the picture because I know Evan was trying to look at it before. He was trying to like discern what it said. It was not decipherable. Cody and I like we both knew what the answer was already, but like we were like we couldn't tell what it was because like it's just not meant to be read. But it is. He did have like written on his arm was the 3D2Y with a 3D crossed out. So his crew are the only ones that would pick up on what that means because they knew what the plan was to originally reunite in 3 days. So yeah, the goal is now to meet back up in 2 years, and everybody's now in a place where they can train effectively, and 2 years should be a good enough time to prepare them better to get into the new world before diving headfirst. So this was the suggestion that Rayleigh had, but like last volume, or he didn't actually say what it was before. But he's like, I have a suggestion for you, which is like, hey, let me train you for 2 years. Let's take some time to get you guys a little bit stronger before you head out into the world. And this is what Luffy agreed to. He's like, that makes sense. Let's do it. And I want to see my crew, but this is important. This will be better for everybody in the long run.
Pretty good thinking. And fortunate that everyone's in like we've been saying this whole time in such a like location that's conducive to their growth as a character. So everyone's like, all right, I know what to do. And it appears to be a temporary tattoo because you don't see it later on.
I won't lie. I have one tattoo on this shoulder. It's the Green Lantern symbol with my hometown symbol inside it. For the longest time, I was thinking of getting like my own version of 3D2Y tattooed on my other shoulder. Hasn't happened for reasons, but it's so powerful. It's such a powerful message, and I love it. It's very resonant.
Pretty smart. I thought I think one of my predictions was that I was like an homage to Ace because Ace had the tattoo that also had like a crossed out letter on it. This one was a little more intentional, where I think Ace's were a little unintentional, but
so, have we talked about Ace's tattoo yet? I'm not sure we have. Now that we've gone through the flashback.
I'm not sure if we did.
So there is I'm not sure if it's ever been confirmed by Oda. But there is at the very least a theory that Ace's tattoo is not just a misspelling of his own name. That it's A for Ace, S for Sabo. The Sabo is crossed out. The C is for Crybaby, which is Luffy, and the E is for Edward Newgate.
Huh.
It's him and the most important people in his life, which might be a reach. But it's been like I've seen it thrown out quite a few times, and this has also made me think. Well, they had this plan for Luffy to go to Marineford, ring the bell, fuck shit up, just to get his picture in the newspaper. But at some point, they had to figure out. Well, the message is through a tattoo. My headcanon now is that Luffy got that thought tattoo because he sees Ace's tattoo. It's like Ace gave me this idea, and this is also in his honor. Purely a headcanon, no factual basis for it. Just
same location.
Yeah,
could have gotten anywhere.
Yeah, I was like, someone had to come up with the idea, and I'd love for it to be Luffy. Who knows?
Interesting. Yeah, that's not something I've ever thought about before.
Yeah, neither had I.
And then the last conversation we get in this chapter is Haki, which I think one really cool point that was brought up was Raleigh mentions how Haki is used to fight specifically people with devil fruit powers. And throughout the series, we've seen Luffy struggling with the Logia type devil fruits. And so having this realization that Haki could potentially be used to fight these devil fruits that have been so effective against Luffy is pretty big news, I would say.
Yeah, like Smokey.
Smokey.
Big Don.
And Evan, do you remember when I pointed out back in Saba Odi, they actually do reference a panel here when Rayleigh is fighting Kizaru?
Yeah.
And I pointed out that moment. And I said, remember this moment. Because there was something like important about it. So I was trying to point out the fact that he was able to make contact with Kizaru and stop him, even though he's using his Devil Fruit. So that was a reference to him using Haki in order to make contact with Kizaru. So that's why he was able to hold his own against Kizaru.
I see. Yeah, this could be like a potential game changer for Luffy.
For sure. And this is also, unfortunately, how Aki was able to affect Ace. And then we did see, like, in Marineford, some examples of how they kept mentioning Haki and blah blah blah. Like, but we see like people like, blocking attacks, and like we saw like the admirals, like, you know, putting their hands up. So it seems like they were using like this form of so there's different terms, so they're interchangeable, but they refer to them here as like different colors, or like so sometimes like arms Haki is armament. I'm usually saying armament Haki. Observation, I think, is usually the same term. And so then like a Supreme King or Conqueror's Haki are also interchangeable. So if at any point we use those terms, they're the same things. So there are those three forms of Haki. Those are the ones that we'll be talking about.
I think color is a very interesting word to use. Like, I wonder the translation on that. It seems very interesting.
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah.
Never really found an answer, but I'm curious now.
Sure.
But it is cool because I feel like we've had conversations around Haki, and I think we got to this point, but it is kind of cool having Raleigh kind of break it down into like definable terms that we can now use. But yeah, I think it was cool how Oda kind of slowly unraveled that mystery over the course of many, many volumes now.
Yeah, and we see a lot of those instances where Haki has been used. Sometimes not even being called Haki, as we see with Mantra. Also, respecting the culture of Skypiea and not trying to appropriate it. But it's astounding whether or not these were planned. The fact that Oda is able to tie them all together. It's the thing that is so impressive about One Piece. But Evan, there is actually an instance of Haki being used. At least one. There's one I have in mind right now that Joel and Shaw might be thinking of as well. I don't know if there are more. I can't think of any. Dating very, very, very far back.
Are you talking about the Sea King, or are we?
With Shanks.
Yeah.
We have touched upon that.
Did we? Because we mentioned in the live action, they show him using Haki.
Never mind.
That's already I
wasn't around.
No, it's a good point.
It's a good point. Yeah.
No, it is a good point because like it's been there this whole time, and I think it's been cool how Oda's kind of slowly.
I think when we all read when most of us read the first Romance Dawn back in the day, we just assumed it was Shanks. It was like a unique Shanks power, and it was just like a unique thing that like Shanks was just so naturally intimidating somehow that he scared off the sea monster. And it's like, oh no, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, the live action does kind of make it more obvious that he's
they focus in on his eye and they change his eye, his pupil, and
sound effects.
So now Evan going back and seeing it, you can be like, oh, here's a context for that. Okay, that's Haki. Cool. Because like in the live action, we don't know the concept of Haki yet. So, but it's nice to finally get this defined. In such clear terms. You were saying?
Oh no, I was just gonna like reiterate. Like, I went on a rant either last episode or the episode before on like how cool I just think the ability of Haki is. So it's cool that we finally have it like very much established, and Luffy is now aware of it because I feel like Luffy's been kind of unaware.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah, so it's good that like Oda is using Rayleigh as a way to convey this to not only Luffy but to the reader as well. But it makes sense because Luffy has been introduced to this concept throughout the series without really understanding it. But now he's kind of putting the pieces together, and like he's going to start being able to use it. But then like Rayleigh also mentions here that the Haki of the Supreme King can also be trained and refined, so that way you can use it more deliberately. Because like we had seen the moment where Shanks on like the Whitebeard's crew, and it seemed like he wasn't really trying to contain it that much, and like Whitebeard was a little bit offended. He's like, you just came in here and you started like knocking my crew out, like like he's not knows like brat, But it is something that can be controlled to some degree. So But like a lot of times we've seen it had been kind of like instinctively, and like Luffy in particular has been using it instinctively. So it's like, hey, how about we like, refine this so that way you can control it instead of just like at random.
Which is very hype because he's already used it unknowingly to great effect. So imagine the possibilities of honing that and using it with intention. Like, I'm pretty excited for that.
Also, the introduction of this and the classification of the hockey and all this stuff, this is where the One Piece power scaling truly begins.
Dude. This makes me think of something. Do we have time for...
oh my God.
Sean, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, maybe. Go for it.
If you don't have time, if it's not the vibe, then it's fine. We don't have to. Like, there are people who have a common criticism of hockey being like, well, why didn't Shanks just use hockey to not lose his arm? They're like, why didn't he use Clark arm? And I'm like, okay, but also it was 10 years ago. This could have been the first time Shanks ever used hockey. This could have been him awakening it the first time he protected Luffy.
I still like the idea of just that, like, Shanks has such a special connection with Luffy that he was so concerned about Luffy's safety that he didn't take any precautions. He didn't think anything. He's just like, what is the quickest way I can save Luffy right now? Yeah. I'd like to, not even an extra millisecond to use my abilities or something at you. Like, that works for me. But
I think that's also incredibly valid. I like that a lot. Yeah,
I agree. I think it works for me. Yeah. It was like a reactionary thing. Yeah.
There's if we're talking about power scaling, there's some very interesting takes that will be had as time goes on. Oh yeah.
All right. Any other final thoughts on the chapter?
Great stuff. Good stuff. Great stuff.
Good stuff.
Okay, moving on. Chapter 598. 2 years later. 2 years later, Luffy picks up his hat and prepares to depart for Sabaody. The supernovas from 2 years ago have been making a name for themselves in the New World, while a new generation of rookies start to gather at Sabaody. Word has also gotten out that Straw Hat Luffy has returned and is looking to recruit strong members to join his crew. Happening today is also the sold-out concert for the rock star Soul King Brook. Sanji arrives at Sabaody and is thrilled to see some women. A long-haired woman gets a drink at a bar where she learns that Navy HQ was moved to the other side of the Red Line, causing crime to rise at Sabaody over the past 2 years. There's a gunshot as a man claiming to be Straw Hat Luffy shoots a potential recruit for not meeting the minimum bounty for his crew. He is joined by Snipper King, Frankie, and Nami. Luffy notices a woman sitting at the bar and calls her over, but she declines. The woman states that she is not interested and is waiting for someone. Having offended her captain, Nami pulls a gun on her and gives the woman an ultimatum: join Straw Hat Luffy or die. Suddenly, Nami is attacked by a large Venus flytrap. It turns out the woman was the real Nami, and she's excited to see Usopp has arrived. They leave the bar together, but the real Nami leaves the fake Straw Hats with a parting gift of a bunch of thunderclouds. Sanji meets up with Shaki, who explains that Duval and his riders defended the Sunny for the past 2 years. Rayleigh has finished the coding, and all the Straw Hats have arrived at Sabaody, except Robin and Luffy. Robin has actually arrived as well, but there are reports that she has been sighted. She is confused as to what is going on as she sees recruitment posters for the Straw Hats, and Brook is giving a concert. Chopper has spotted the fake Sanji, Zoro, and Robin, but doesn't realize they are imposters. They recognize that the real Chopper is following them, so they ditch the fox that they've had being used as a fake Chopper. Out of nowhere, the fake Robin is kidnapped, shocking Chopper. A report gets back to Navy HQ that the Straw Hats are at Sabaody, so they prepare to mobilize reinforcements. The fake Luffy has mistakenly shot the wrong people, thinking they were the two that disrespected him earlier. During the confrontation, a hooded figure with a large backpack accidentally bumps into the fake Luffy, knocking him over. The fake Luffy shouts for the man to stop, not realizing this person is the actual Luffy. Okay, so a lot to go over.
A lot to go over.
I want to hear Evan's thoughts. I'm very curious.
Do we get to hear SK Brook music in the anime?
Yes.
all right, I need to tune into that.
I find a
'Cause
bone to be wild.
Yes, I need to find. I'm just picturing him screaming at the guy like, "Hey, I'm all bones." I'm like, oh, I need to know more about this. I need to hear that. That's awesome. No, this is fun. I feel like everyone's gotten their level up moment. And so I'm very excited for this reunion. And these imposters are hilarious.
Yeah.
So funny.
I mean, terrible individuals, but the impersonations are hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, should I just go off on my thoughts on? Okay,
Yeah, please do.
I love everybody's post. I love everyone's time skip design except for Nami and Chopper. I think Nami is just Oda being like, "Yep, this is my ultimate end goal for Nami at this point." Anyways, it's just like I'm gonna have her perpetually with just the bikini top now, and I think that's kind of depressing, but it is what it is. Chopper, meanwhile, is just worse, fundamentally worse. I always will think he is. I prefer pre-time skip Chopper, always will, and I also think Ted Chopper has been turned into just a silly gag character at this point. He's not. He's stupid enough to be fooled by this, by the like the impersonators, and like to the extent that he's even like, it's one thing like visually for him to be like, oh, maybe they changed, and then after they treat him the way they do, and he's like, no, still different. It's a bridge too far for me, so I think that really sucks. But everyone else is awesome. I love Usopp's new look. I love Luffy's. Well, we don't see much of Luffy's new look yet, but it's and Sanji's mostly the same, except he has a goatee now.
I think he changed which side of his hair he parts to.
Yes.
Okay.
Swapped.
Yeah.
And so we see that one of his eyebrows curls on the inside, and then one of them curls on the outside, which is fucking hilarious. And probably why he has his hair part like that in the first place.
Yeah, so I think they curl like on the same side. So it's not like on like they're both like on like you're saying that both on the outside. It's like they both like curl in the same on the same side.
The swirls go in the same direction. They're both
so they're not symmetrical, basically. Like,
in his perspective, this would be they're both counterclockwise from his perspective, I think is what.
Yeah. The point is that they're not symmetrical, so they don't.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say too. Like one's here, one's here, something like that. Yeah. There's somewhere.
That's pretty hilarious.
It's great. Everyone for the longest, I was like, "What's under his hair? What's under his other? What's the other eye?" It's just a different eyebrow. It's just
really
curls
funny,
on the other side. It's not that. We're just chilling here.
We also see him flip the bird at the end. I was like, not expecting that.
Say, I have my own reservations on Sanji's characterization in this scene, but that just the fact that he flipped the bird on it in itself is funny. The action of it is funny to me.
It is.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly, it is.
I
love it.
I do agree with Sean, though. I feel like this was an opportunity for them to kind of like change.
Yeah. For the better.
For the better. Sanji and Chopper both. But we'll see.
No, me too.
I like Robin's design still a lot. Like she's still traditionally attractive, but without she's still wearing like more than just a bikini top. So I don't know.
Yeah, see, Robin's the one that I actually have the most complaints. Like I don't like Robin's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, post time skip.
Well,
like,
I prefer her pre time skip still, but I'm just saying like I can live with it rather than Chopper's, which I think is a straight downgrade in every aspect.
I actually do like Chopper's a lot.
Well,
but that's just
I'll leave it there.
It's not for everyone.
And I also do understand like your criticism of the Chopper and not recognizing that those aren't the real Straw Hats. But it's like so funny to me that like I can easily like forgive it. And he's like kind of naive and like innocent and sweet. So like he's like it's more of like like I think it's just a more naivety thing than it is like a stupidity thing. He's just like he's also like a reindeer, so I think he's also kind of like yeah, I don't know. He should recognize his crew better, but but he's just like, easily deceived because he's so like sweet.
Well, he does realize like, oh, your behavior is not right. He just has the perfect circumstantial excuse of Luffy. It's been 2 years. You have changed, and it's not okay. Which I think plays in the instance for me, like the joke lands because that's to me that's just comedy. The fact that it is so ridiculous. That, like that's what I find funny about the fact that Chopper should realize, but he just doesn't because of the circumstances he's in. But I do agree with Sean that there is some Flanderization, not just for Sanji, but I think for Chopper too. Like he does get progressively smaller and cuter as time goes on. Like I think even just like Chopper compared to this and like Sabaody when we see him, if you compare either of those to Drum Island, that's a huge difference in how his hybrid form looked, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I personally missed that because it was like this, hey, he's this weird little thing that we just don't know what he is, but we love him and he's cool. I thought he was really cute and like in his like little teddy bear doughboy phase in Drum Island. But like, you know, the people want what they want. They want to sell the merch.
Sell the merch.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Meanwhile, I'm sure Soul King Brook has an incredible merch table.
Yo.
Yeah.
I would buy a t-shirt.
My friend just bought
that
a whole
guitar is sweet.
Yeah. Yep.
But I do want to comment on the Chopper redesign since like his introduction because my fiance in particular, like before like she was introduced to One Piece, like Chopper was like the thing that like kind of stood out to her. So it's like one of those things where it's like Chopper was the thing that was like he's so cute. Like I don't really know anything about him, but like I like him because he's so cute, and that was kind of like the thing that kind of like convinced her to kind of like give One Piece a chance. So to me, I think it was kind of like it's a way to essentially get fans into the series in one way that you wouldn't normally think.
This is a brutal way for me to put it, and I'm half joking, but Chopper's complexity is sacrificed at the altar of marketability. And it's just like, all right, if that's what it takes to get new fans in is to just neuter this character of his depth, it's like, all right, I guess that's the has to be done.
Well,
I'm half kidding again.
Yeah, like, but this is also only one moment.
I know.
This isn't like Chopper like is now the dumbest character in the world. It's just like it's just he has one moment of like, you know, goofiness, you know.
Yeah.
in being the middle ground that I've pledged myself to in this argument, I think that there, at the same time, there is a very easy way to make Chopper's design more marketable without making his character and the situations he is placed into and the things you emphasize with him have to change. And to me, that's the issue, personally.
I think they're just completely separate issues.
I mean, I'm saying, yeah, you can. I think it's that we shouldn't have had both, but they did, and why did we? Is my thing, unless I'm misunderstanding you.
I'm just saying that, like, so I think the Chopper becoming cuter over time, I think, is an intentional thing to be more marketable, like you guys were saying.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Chopper became a dumber character in the time skip because, like, because he's cuter. I think it's like Oda just wanted to do something funny with the character in this moment, so he's like, "This is gonna be a funny thing to do in the story because he hasn't seen these characters in 2 years. I'm gonna just take advantage of this funny moment with this cute character."
Yeah. I guess I may be in this moment, I agree with you on that. I may be jumping the gun a little bit.
I am jumping the gun a bit too with stuff that comes later.
And for me, it's not even intelligence, but like I'm gonna shut up. Fully free podcast, by the way.
I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of in agreement. Like I feel like this is the first time we've seen it. This is the first time we're getting these characters in a very long time, and I feel like growth is expected at this point. Like, I mean, when I was talking about Luffy coming out of his flashback, I was like, wow, I can now wait to see how much Luffy has changed and grown as a person coming out of this whole situation. And the circumstances he finds himself in. And I feel like I've had that same kind of expectation for the rest of the crew as they've been bettering themselves and trying to make themselves capable of being on the crew of the King of the Pirates. and what that entails and the sacrifices and changes they're going to have to make to do that. And so I feel like, and also just like not having seen the Straw Hats in forever, like I feel like I was super duper hyped for this very chapter of like them kind of all coming out of this 2-year hiatus. And I don't know how that lined up with like the release. Like, was there an actual gap here in the release? So like, were people waiting forever to get these characters? Or
there's like a 3-week vacation for Oda or something, I think.
It was about
an SBS. Yeah.
So there was like a break for the readers.
There was about a month break. Yeah.
Okay.
It was the first time he'd taken a break that long.
Gotcha.
Yeah. In the season.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think I did have some expectations on like hoping these characters would have some like a little bit more character development. And like I think I like Chopper's look. Like I think I'm perfectly happy with his new cute look. But yeah, it's like you said, he was kind of used as like the butt of a joke in his intro back to reality here.
It's like I feel like I'm always being the guy bringing the harsh vibes, so I'm gonna like there's still, again, I really like Usopp's new look. I love he springs a freaking Venus flytrap on somebody. That was him, right? Like
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
what is that? That's like one of the
that was awesome.
pop green things, whatever. It's fun, like night and day compared to Usopp pre-time skip. Like
right,
you want to talk development, like
exactly.
He is a completely different character now. I'm sure he'll still have moments of cowardice and stuff, but like just the fundamental ability here is just leagues beyond anything we've seen before. Also,
Agreed.
He's rocking a full-on six-pack. Like,
dude,
he's not fat Usopp anymore.
He was just bulking.
Yeah, he's just bulking.
I love how he's like, I'm not part of the weak squad anymore, naming like Nami and Chopper, and then they both like run out. They both run out of the bar.
They both immediately run out of the bar.
I love it.
They're just so casual. So I was on this island. They had all this stuff. I'm realizing that all of my favorite Straw Hat dynamics involve Usopp, because it's Sanji and Usopp and Nami and Usopp are two of my favorite Straw Hat friendships. I just love the vibes these two have. Are always so fun.
Yeah.
Also, Sean, to your point earlier, I would say, and this might be a conversation after the podcast, but I'd say don't worry about it. We can't just be glazing Oda all the time. It's the best story ever, but like it's not perfect.
No,
and your songs about your reaction to it, and I personally appreciate that.
Yeah, and I welcome that as well, because I don't want us to just be like an echo chamber and I'll just be like, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when we have like a differing opinion and we have a discussion, and like that's what I want, is to like, if you have a differing opinion, like I want you to voice that.
When we get to Fishman Island, I'll have some opinions.
I can't fucking wait. I cannot fucking wait.
But I do think it's also really fun, just like the whole concept of these fake Straw Hats. So
I do like this idea of just like in the midst, like, hey, what if we pull this long con? I'm sure it'll never bite us in the ass. It's like, here we go.
Yeah, so Luffy was notorious enough, but like his absence has been noticed, and people decide to take advantage of that. Be like, oh, we can use like the notoriety that Luffy built up, and we can, kind of ride on his coattails, and we can pretend to be the Straw Hats. So we have these obviously fake Straw Hats, and I just think like they're hilarious because like they're so obviously fake, and like the story like kind of treats them as if they're like the real ones. And like in my summary, I was trying to be like a little coy because like I wasn't entirely sure if I should just be like upfront, but I thought it was a little bit more fun to kind of play around with it, like Oda was kind of doing here. But we do see that the woman at the bar is obviously Nami. But like the fake Straw Hats don't realize this is the real Nami. Even the fake Nami doesn't realize this is the real Nami. So yeah, we just have like the funny exchange here. And so, don't you know who that is? That's Straw Hat Luffy that you're talking to. She's like, oh, really? Okay. So scary. And then like Robin's kind of like in the same boat where she's also trying to pick up the pieces. Like she got here a bit later, and she hears that people are after her, not realizing that there's an imposter on the island of her. So like with the moment where Chopper's following the fake Straw Hats. First of all, I think it's hilarious how they have like the little fox that's clearly also not like the same thing as Chopper at all. But like the fake Robin, like when they notice that they have like the real Chopper following them, like she just like kicks the fox, and then like she's trying to like like coax like Chopper, like, oh, come here, and then like the fox just like biting her face, and Chopper's like, Robin, you're scary now. This whole thing just cracked me up, and then she gets kidnapped because they think that she's the real Robin.
Dang, hilarious. Something that just occurred to me too was when we see the fake Luffy's introduction. It's just so unlike Luffy. I'm the son of Dragon the Revolutionary. We're the elite. We only take the best. This asshole. And at first I was like, God damn, what a terrible, this is a bad actor, did not do his research. Because part of me is like, okay, it's a risky leap to assume that he is dead just based on him going to Marineford and then not coming back after 3-2I incident, after having seen that he already went to Marineford once, came back, was presumed dead, and was fine. Leap of logic. Anyway, but aside from that, it made me realize, well, there is only so much that there's only so much of an impression of Straw Hat Luffy someone can get without visiting Alabasta and talking to the royalty there. And how much of it is influenced by the government propaganda about Luffy. So from what what is on the record about Lair, people seem pretty convinced. And this may be a good portrayal. So appeared to me.
That's a good point, because this is just a layman who, like, this is the impression that Luffy has gained around the world. So this is who, like the world at large probably thinks Luffy is. So they don't know enough about Luffy to be like, oh, this is out of character for him. Like, oh, he's like brutal. Like, they just know he's like this like pirate who's like take on like the world government, like doing all these crazy things.
The son of the most dangerous man in the world.
Like, yeah, so he must be a dangerous person. So it's like, yeah, so he's really playing into that, and like I said, nobody like can like dispute him and be like, oh, that's not him, because he's not like that at all. It's like, oh yeah, that's in line with what we know about Luffy. Yeah, so I think that's a good point.
I love that they get like a Doom intro panel with like a little bio, like the classic like bio name and intro. So good.
That still treats them as if they're legit.
Yep.
And then one thing I also wanted to point out is in the color spread that before we actually get into like the double page spread. So we do have like the little moment where Luffy picks up his hat. So Evan, did you notice the big scar on Luffy's chest?
Yeah. But I was trying to recall what that. Do we know what that's from?
Mm-hmm.
So that's from Aka Inu.
Aka Inu, got it.
Yeah. So when he tagged
bandages are finally off.
Yeah. So when he tagged Jinbei and Luffy, like the molten actually got through to his chest and caused that scar. So now that we've gotten to the time skip and you've seen the designs for these characters,
oh my god.
Now, like, this is why I've been like very secretive about even like showing the time skip versions of the characters, because of some of these changes. But Luffy in particular has a noticeable scar on his body. That
I can show you the photo I took with his statue at the Mugiwara store in Japan now. Like,
nice.
Yeah,
I can give you a Luffy deck in the One Piece card game now.
This opens so many doors for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I built you that spoiler-free Zoro deck with the proxies.
Yes,
I believe all three of them no longer need to be proxied after what we've read today.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the reason why we couldn't show you those versions, because like the printed versions are the time skip versions.
Yeah, they have completely superseded not completely, but it's much harder to find pre-time skip merch of these characters now.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like the merch is very prevalent. And actually it's funny because when I saw you a few weeks ago, you actually have a shirt already.
Yes.
So
I had a shirt that had
so I made a comment like for a few weeks. I don't know when you bought it, but I see
I worked at Comic-Con.
So how much of this was actually a surprise to you is my question.
Well, that's the thing, is I feel like naturally I've seen some like images here and there. And I've done my best to like, try to ignore it or not.
Did we need to tell you to cover the cover?
Absorb it. No, yeah, I think that was good advice, and I'm glad you told me to do that, because this cover is very revealing of all their new looks. So I was able to read the chapter without, although the double page spread didn't help. It'll be like, oh, that's probably the cover. Like skip through it. But yeah, I've been doing my best. To stay spoiler free. So like the scar might have been spoiled, which is why maybe I didn't notice it as prevalently. But
the thing is, like, you didn't know what it was from, which I think,
right?
Yeah, that's the thing. But I want to ask, did you know there was a time skip in the series?
Did I know this was coming? No.
Okay.
Like the whole 3 day 2 years thing totally caught me off guard. You knew my assumption was that he had the Weaver card in his hand and was like trying to tell everyone like meet back at the at Sabaody. But
yes.
And we talked about the tattoo, but I didn't recognize the tattoo as being the sign because it was indecipherable in the photo for us.
Okay, so yeah, that was one thing I wanted to try to preserve. It's actually pretty common, like for all these shonen series, to have these time skips. But I wanted to try to like preserve the surprise of the time skip. So even though you may have seen these versions of the characters before, you probably didn't realize why they looked the way that they did.
Right.
So yeah, now that you can see like these updated versions of the characters, like you can see more contemporary versions. So all the media that like you'll be seeing going forward is this version of the characters. Yeah, they might be wearing different costumes and clothes, but like their overall look and design is gonna be pretty much this.
Sweet.
But yeah, the main thing is like Luffy does have that scar because we've seen his like chest like pre-time skip, and we know he doesn't have the scar.
I would say that Luffy's chest scar has become at this point in 2024 nearly as iconic an aspect of his character as the straw hat. Like it's just so prevalent and all. Like he's always, you see it all the time. Like just the big X scar. Like
they're like t-shirts of just the X scar.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're completely right. I didn't even think about that. Wow.
And he's not trying to hide it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it feels very like Pirate X marks the spot kind of vibe.
Oh, Evan, you have stumbled onto something great, my friend. You are welcome to the land, especially as we get into post time skip of One Piece conspiracy theories.
hey, Evan, I think we brought this up. Maybe we haven't brought. There hasn't been a single motherfucking pirate in this series with an eye patch yet.
Is that true?
It's true.
Right?
There could be one soon.
We haven't had eye patches.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. That's kind of wild.
So who's it gonna be though?
Who's it gonna
Oda
be?
has that because Oda has said in SBS.
Oda has said there will be one. There will be one,
and it's gonna be really important. Just so you know, guys.
Yeah, and we had a candidate coming up in this next chapter that
that's not. I was just
could have had one,
but he decided against it.
But Evan, if I may share a potential theory,
can't be Brooks because he's got no eyes.
double eye patch.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, Cody, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say there's just a lot of theories. One of which is that like, well, X marks the spot. X tells us a treasure. Is Luffy the One Piece? Like all sorts of like crazy things like that. So get ready.
Spoilers.
It's not. We'll see. We don't know. I feel comfortable because we don't. I don't know yet. But sorry. I'll stop. I'm sorry.
I do like the metaphor there.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to bring up before we move on is this is something that I also never noticed before was Brooks or Soul King's managers are the Long Arm Tribe people that had kidnapped him. Yeah. I didn't connect this before. So like on the first page where we see Soul King, we see like the Long Arm Tribe people to his left. Well, I guess to his right, but on the left side of the page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just said that was like a fun detail. So they like had kidnapped him. And they're like, oh, we can actually profit off this guy. So yeah, let's make him a rock star. Okay, that's the last thing I had. Did you guys have anything else before we move on?
I'm good.
That's about it.
Okay, let's move on to the last chapter for this episode. That would be chapter 599, 9 Pirates. Before Luffy had departed from Boa, she gave him a hooded cloak to help hide his identity. The fake Luffy pulls a gun on the real Luffy, telling him to beg for his life. Luffy says he doesn't have time for this. The fake Luffy pulls the trigger, but Luffy dodges the bullet. It knocks out the fake Straw Hats with Conqueror's Haki. Robin arrives at the Sunny, where she's greeted by an upgraded Frankie. Robin is intrigued by the coding, and Frankie has finished the maintenance on the ship. They also discuss Brooks' new success as a rock star and wonder if he'll quit being a pirate. Chopper finds the fake Straw Hats who have regained consciousness. When the fake Luffy learns the fake Robin has been captured, he says to forget her. Chopper is disappointed to learn that Luffy has changed so much and would abandon his friend, determined to save Robin himself as he runs off after her. Navy spots the fake Luffy and prepared to mobilize, thinking he must be the real Luffy. Sentomaru prepares to deploy with some pacifistic units as well. Sanji finds a fisherman looking to see if he can buy some fresh caught fish. He is panicking because he let the green-haired fellow he met earlier borrow his fishing boat to go fishing, but he got on the wrong boat and ended up on a pirate ship and fell asleep. The ship was already coded and went underwater to Fishman Island, so the fisherman was concerned he would be killed. Sanji was much less concerned and knew the idiot would get himself into some sort of trouble. The onlookers see something rising from below the water. The pirate ship emerges in pieces. Zoro had destroyed it after realizing he got on the wrong ship.
Perfection. This is the one time like let this running joke never stop. Let this running joke get even more out of hand, please, Oda.
I got on the wrong ship.
Dramatic pause. The wrong ship. Evan, what do you think of Zoro's new design?
Love it. I love it. I can't wait to get the flashback on his eye.
Yeah.
I need answers.
You sure it's not a
Yeah,
Sharingan?
I like the new look. That's why I would love that. That would be
This
that would
was
complete
peak
me as
Naruto
a human being.
popularity.
But yeah, eye patch candidate for sure.
Yep.
There we go.
Who knows?
Yeah, looks like he had some intense training with Mihawk, though, to lose an eye.
Yep, for sure.
This chapter is a prime example of I've become a recent convert of the Robin and Frankie ship.
Yo, let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It took me a while, but it really I think in an SBS somewhere Oda says they're the mom and dad of the crew, which is pretty great. So there you go. How does it like just the arms, like it just seems so awkward to carry, to just it's so big. How does he fit it all like on the ship? Like how does he not take up a cartoonish amount of space? I don't know.
But you can still do the super pose, so that's the important thing.
He continues to skip leg day, but yeah.
I love Robin's reaction, how she says he hasn't changed a bit. He's like, are you kidding me? Like,
I have changed dramatically. I am fundamentally so much bigger and huger than before.
But it's also like, God damn, they're so cute.
They're very cute.
They're so cute. She sees past it. She sees him for him. Oh. I'm a fan of the Nico Robin polycule, but like that's a different thing. I believe in multiple ships, but like, you know, it's, you know,
I can see Nami Robin too and stuff, so you know.
I'm a Nami Vivi enjoyer.
Oh, that works.
I like that one a lot. But like, you know, the world might not be right for that. We'll get into that at a later date.
Yeah, I personally think Nami Vivi as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Frankie's design, though, getting back onto that, from my experience, I remember that being the most controversial of any of these designs. I personally love it. Because Frankie's always been a weird motherfucker.
It's like it's so big and so loud that you're like, you've kind of I feel like Frankie's design is kind of like a wake up call to be like, Oh, you thought One Piece was loud and dramatic before? You ain't seen nothing yet, motherfucker. Like, you thought it was like big and wide and splash panel and look at all this. It's like, no, you don't even know where to. We haven't even started.
That's a really good point.
I feel like that fits his character.
Before, God damn, get ready.
See, I also kind of like prefer pre-time skip Frankie design.
Kind of do too.
Like I don't hate this, but I just think I like the pre-time skip version better.
Valid. I think some days I agree.
I feel like I haven't seen it enough to get a full opinion on it yet, but it is pretty extreme, and I miss the pompadour haircut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
his like Johnny Bravo hair.
Very him.
We do love that.
I will say, like, his personality is basically identical. Like, he's still
he's still Frank.
So that's still thankfully intact.
Still a weirdo.
Let's talk about this Luffy scene.
Dude,
this is so sick. So sick. Like, this is the kind of intro I wanted, this was amazing. I feel like we get to see this bullet dodge scene visually was drawn so beautifully. Like, I think that panel when you see the bullet whizzing by Luffy's head, he's got this like blank expression, and you can kind of see the path of the bullet. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think like the depiction of that is incredible. And then we see him using the Supreme Kai Haki here. So cool.
The Supreme Kai.
The crossover with Dragon Ball.
Oh, what did I say?
The Supreme Kai, which like isn't completely inaccurate.
Yeah,
that's
Supreme King.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
I meant
we wouldn't have One Piece without Dragon Ball. Gear 2 based with the Kaioken. We're set.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
you're good. You're chill. You're chill.
Yeah, badass intro for Luffy. This was sweet.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see the shiny Sunny.
Which thankfully Duvall has done a good job protecting it. So
Duvall.
I feel like they missed
MVP.
You go.
No, I was just saying Duvall's MVP. Like he did it.
Oh hell yeah!
I didn't have much to say on that. Just saying.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I think they missed an opportunity for a pun. It might have been the last chapter when Sanji's talked to him. He's like, handsome. It was like, you're so dutiful. He could have said, beautiful. Why, thank you. I wish they did that. I blame Lance Kaufman in HC Language Solutions. Sorry.
But I like how Boa gave Luffy this little disguise before she let him go off. She's like, oh, here's a little cloak, and you're also gonna need this. And it's like the little nose of the mustache. It was like, I don't need that. But like, was like, you should probably hide your face so they don't recognize you. Yeah, I just think it's funny because like such an obvious disguise. But classic.
That's a ship that's never gonna happen, but I wish it would. I wish Luffy would like finally come around. I know it's not gonna happen. But it was like the Naruto Hinata arc. She was like always infatuated with him, and
I mean, to be fair, she's not part of the crew, so it doesn't break his like no crew interrelationships law. But yeah.
I like ace coded Luffy quite a bit. It's a character trait I really admire, or not even admire. I just enjoy about him. I love to see it. Yeah,
I agreed.
It's also funny though that like they're concerned about him not showing his face, which is a valid concern. But Luffy just happens to have the perfect disguise in the fake Luffy right there. There's a very guys been someone saying, "Hey, I'm Straw Hat Luffy, me over here. I am Straw Hat Luffy, no one else." And I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm set. Let's chill here in my jacket. Let's go."
Just makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, it just makes the scene even funnier to me.
But yeah, that's pretty much where we're gonna leave the part of the story for right now. All right, so before we move on to rankings, did you guys have any other thoughts on the chapter or the volume so far?
I mean, this is a fundamental. There's pre and post time skip for a reason. It's like this is the beginning of the new one. This is the beginning of the modern One Piece. Like this is the beginning of the One Piece that as it exists today. Like it really is.
It really is a new world for these characters, and that's not to be silly, but it genuinely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm pretty hyped for what's to come, and it's cool like seeing all of our Straw Hats reunited and getting back together finally.
Bands
After being apart for so long, it's been so long,
dude.
Well, we're very close to the reunion. Not fully quite there yet, but we're on track.
Pretty close.
And it is a very pivotal moment in the series, and we're also because like we talked about like Marineford being such a critical like climax of the series so far, and we haven't really seen the aftermath of the fallout of the war yet, because like just like the characters, like we have to catch up on like the story now. There's like a 2-year period of history that has now passed that we don't know as readers.
Right.
So now we're gonna be kind of playing catch up and being like, what has happened, like what's going on in the world now. So I think like not only do we have like new things to look forward to, like with the adventures, but like from a storytelling point, it's like what elements can now be introduced with that concept. And I think it's a very exciting time going into this part of the series. Like we're basically 600 chapters in, which is it's huge. And now we're just kind of getting to like a point in the story where it feels like a fresh start. Whereas a lot of series don't even make it this far. So I think it's very exciting to kind of get like a reinvention of One Piece. I think it's really cool to be here now.
Hyped.
Okay, so how about we get some rankings, because we did finish up the post-war arc. So that covers the section the Luffy going to Amazon Lily and the the flashback to the Goa Kingdom. So how about we start with Sean? Do you want to walk us through your current rankings?
Sure, one moment. So I have an S tier at the very top of S tier. That's not going anywhere anytime soon. Marineford at the very top of S tier. Then below that is Arlong Park, then Alabasta, then Enies Lobby. And A tier, at the very top of A tier, I have Water 7, then Sabaody, then Impel Down, then Baratier, then Skypiea, then Little Garden, Loketown, Drum Island, Romance Dawn at the bottom of A. At the very top of B, I have Amazon Lily, then Jaya, then Orangetown, then Syrup Village, then Whiskey Peak, then Reverse Mountain, then Long Ring, Long Land, and at the very bottom of B, I have currently nothing in C, and I have D, I have Thriller Bark for reasons we all know. And that's about it. Should I place post-war here? Is what we're doing now? Yeah. I would say post-war is at the very top of B.
So right before Amazon Lily?
Right, yeah, right before. Yeah, it's above Amazon. It's nearly cresting A, but...
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you. Okay, so Evan, how about you walk us through your current rankings?
All right. In S tier, I have Marineford, Alabasta, Arlong Park, Baratier, Skypiea, Water 7. In A tier, Impel Down, Enies Lobby, Thriller Bark, Drum Island, Sabaody, Amazon Lily, Little Garden, Loketown, Jaya, Romance Dawn, and Syrup Village. And then in B tier, I have Long Ring, Long Land, Whiskey Peak, First Mountain, and Orangetown. This is a hard one to place. It was mostly flashback, now that I think about it. Like, I feel like most of it was Ace's and Luffy's flashback. But I think I'm also going to put this top of B tier.
Okay, so before Long Ring, Long Land?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think it does a good job of like tying up the arc, like continuing from Marineford and kind of tying up the arc nicely and kind of linking it to Luffy's growth and relationship with Ace, and getting to see Ace's backstory, which also is Luffy's backstory, which is something we also haven't really gotten a ton of in the series until now. So, yeah, I think those are really good arc.
All right, cool. All right, thank you. All right, Cody, how about you walk us through yours?
Oh God, I'm not ready. All right,
it's a tough one.
Water 7 is my top in S tier, followed by Marineford, then Baratier, then Arlong Park, then Enies Lobby, then Alabasta. Currently, A tier is Drum Island, then Impel Down, then Sabaody, Thriller Bark, Jaya, Amazon Lily, excuse me, Orangetown, Skypiea, and Romance Dawn. Then B tier is Syrup Village, Reverse Mountain, Logtown, Longing Longland, Little Garden, Whiskey Peak. Nothing in C, nothing in D. And I was hoping that Evan and Sean's place might help me, but I think that I think I view this arc differently, so it doesn't necessarily help me. I will say I think I will. I don't necessarily view differently. I think I don't place it in the same place. I know that it's somewhere in A tier for me. Because for me, the things I love about One Piece, this was so central to Luffy's growth as a character, who he has been and who he will be. Seeing the way things are cemented at the very end with the Straw Hats and their direction here, it's better on the reread. To the point where things I'd never considered about it. And also, it's this is the end of the first half of One Piece, which to me just feels so significant, and so well tied together. There's so many moments that I think have helped me through my own life that it's at least higher than Skypiea. I guess the only thing I worry about is that I'm having recency bias, but I'm gonna put it either ahead of or behind Sabaody personally.
We can always change these later.
Yeah, there's a good chance. I'm gonna say just behind Sabaody, between Sabaody and Thriller Park. So A tier is now Drum Island, Impel Down, Sabaody, post Marineford, Thriller Bark, Jaya, Amazon Lily, Orangetown, Skypiea, Romance Dawn.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. All right, I'll just walk through mine. So my current rankings, I have S tier, Marineford, Alabasta, Enies Lobby, Arlong Park, Water 7, Sabaody, Jaya. A tier, Thriller Bark, Drum Island, Impel Down, Skypiea. B tier, Long Ring Longland, Baratier, Little Garden, Syrup Village, Logtown. C tier, Amazon Lily, Orangetown, Romance Dawn, Whiskey Peak, Reverse Mountain. So I think I'm very much closer to Sean and Evan, where I would put this in C tier, right above Amazon Lily. So whereas like coming from like Marineford, we all were very high in Marineford. We consider it like one of the best arcs we've covered so far, if not the best. And then we go into this flashback where, like it's not bad, but it's just like not something I'm like looking forward to, and like not everything could be Marineford. It's just like it does kind of get like inserted where we have like this like flashback that's like it kind of breaks up the story a little bit. It's an interesting flashback, and I enjoy it. I just don't think I enjoy it as much as a lot of the other arcs in the series. So for me, it's a little bit lower for that reason. So yeah, I'm just gonna put it in C tier before Amazon Lily.
Fair.
Joel, that's a nice looking list. It's like nice and balanced. You have like I need to go through and edit mine. I think I have like a million in A tier. I need to just like I need to go back and readjust it a little bit.
Yeah, now might be a good time to do that. Now that we're moving into the new world. So
this is true. This is true.
For me, I'm like I can't give you like a C. Just because, like, I don't. It's because I do academic stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is more than a 75. This is more than a 7.5 out of 10. But it's context.
No, but we're grading on a curve.
In context.
Sorry. You're now everything I hate about education. Sorry.
Hey, so if everybody fails the test, then that means that you get an A.
Yeah. You actually learn. You're fine where you are. These concepts don't build upon each other. You're not being set up for failure later on. It's fine.
So like C tier doesn't mean it's a bad arc. Like I think I don't think there's a bad arc in One Piece.
I know.
That's my personal belief, and by having a C tier, I don't think it's it puts it as like, oh, this is actually garbage. Like I just think it's compared to other arcs, it's all based on the scale of the other arcs. It's all comparison, and it's just for like being able to have a visual representation of an order, but it's not necessarily meant to be like end all be all. It is just kind of meant to be like a representation of like a general feeling. It's like a way to try to quantify something that is more of a feeling.
No, I completely understand you, and I think that you are very apparent about that. It's just I'm realizing my own biases and my own hangups about the tier list and like the rankings. That's just something I have to get through.
I mean, if we're being real, everything's S arc. I mean, S tier. So,
well, like, dude, come on, Thriller Bark, best arc. I'm sorry, I had to.
Well, it's been a great night, boys. Have a good night.
Love you, buddy. See you later.
Bye.
Fishman Island, homie.
Okay, so on that note, that will conclude this week's episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. You can find this episode wherever podcasts are found at We're Reading One Piece podcast.buzzsprout.com or on the YouTube channel at We're Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel up to where we record the podcast. So if you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Pirate King Codex for more One Piece content. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach us at wearereadingonepiece@gmail.com. We love to hear from listeners, so if you're enjoying the show, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make it better, let us know. Next episode, we'll be finishing Volume 61, Romance Dawn for the New World. I've been Joel, and I've been joined by Sean.
This has been Sean. I'll see you all in 2 years.
Evan.
Thanks for listening.
And Cody.
3 days, 2 weeks for the next episode of the podcast. I'm kidding. We don't have a break that I know of. First thing that came to mind.
All right, well, be sure to bring along all your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode, wherever that may be.